The FBI authorized the use of deadly force during the Mar-a-Lago raid. This according to documents filed by Trump's legal team.
Guys, what are we doing here? What the hell? Yesterday, news came out that the FBI was prepared to use deadly force on that pre-dawn raid of Mar-a-Lago. Jesse Waters on Fox News Channel lays out all the details. Let's take a look.
Alert, a major bombshell in the Trump documents case. The FBI authorized the use of deadly force during the Mar-a-Lago raid. This according to documents filed by Trump's legal team. Agents in unmarked polo shirts planned to bring standard issue weapons, ammo, handcuffs, medium and large size bolt cutters, and even lock picking equipment as they prepared to go door to door at Mar-a-Lago. And they did, ransacking Melania Trump's bedroom along with Barron Trump's bedroom. The FBI also took extensive photographs of Melania and Barron's rooms for no apparent reason. Think about this for a second. Joe Biden sent men with guns to his political opponent's house and turned their bedrooms upside down. That's never happened in the history of the United States. And we've had some crazy presidents. This was the former first lady and a professional model. These people are sick. And Biden complains about his son's privacy, hunters. He had armed men rummage through Barron's bedroom. The FBI even allegedly had a medic on site in case someone was shot. Trump reacting, quote, "Wow, I just came out of the Biden witch hunt trial in Manhattan, the icebox, and was shown reports that crooked Joe Biden's DOJ and their illegal and unconstitutional raid of Mar-a-Lago authorized the FBI to use deadly, lethal force. Now we know for sure that Joe Biden's a serious threat to democracy. He is mentally unfit to hold office. 25th Amendment. Trump's lawyers claim that the former president's constitutional rights were violated. It was an illegal search and seizure. The FBI misled the judge to obtain the warrant, and the raid was executed in an egregious fashion and in bad faith. Nor was there any basis for the FBI to bring firearms into Mar-a-Lago. What was life-threatening about pieces of paper? The FBI improperly seized Trump's passports, tax and accounting information, and even medical records. Think about that. The Biden administration seized his political opponent's medical records. Who signed off on it?
I personally approved the decision to seek a search warrant in this matter. Second, the department does not take such a decision lightly.
Remember, the New York Times reported that Biden wanted his AG to, quote, act less like a ponderous judge and more like a prosecutor willing to take on Trump. This all came from the top, just like the Jan 6 case, the Fannie case.
Yeah, well laid out there by Jesse Waters and the whole team there on his show on Fox News Channel. Those are the details. And I do want to share it one more time. That's a critically important video, what he showed. And I just want to show the source one more time because this is critical.
There are, however, certain points I want you to know. First, I personally approved the decision to seek a search warrant in this matter. Second, the department does not take such a decision lightly.
Yeah. So why is that so important? Well, because that man serves at the whim of the president of the United States. That is a political appointee. He's a member of the cabinet. Joe Biden hired him. Joe Biden nominated him, put him in place. And at any moment, if Joe Biden wants to fire him, he can. We saw that. We saw that with Jeff Sessions under President Trump, right? Trump didn't like Sessions and the way he was doing his job, thought that his hands were tied because he had to recuse himself on the Russian collusion thing. So he fired him and put in William Barr. This man serves at the pleasure of the president of the United States. That means anything that he does, he's basically acting on behalf of the president of the United States. So when he says he personally signed off on it, it's like Joe Biden signing off on it. And what exactly did he sign off on? Well, as usual, Julie Kelly, who is reporting on this and investigating it like no other reporter in America, she's the one who actually discovered this little line item in the warrant that authorized the FBI raid. So all of the stories that you're seeing, by the way, about the use of deadly force, it's all because of Julie Kelly, but I assure you she won't always get credit, if at all. She says, tons of new unsealed filings on classified docs case. I'll try to post as much as I can. There goes the workout, but this is mind-blowing. FBI authorized the use of deadly force at Mar-a-Lago. We'll blow it up here for you. Number 4, the raid. And by the way, this is actually from Trump's defense attorneys, but they quote all of these documents. The order contained a policy statement regarding use of deadly force, which stated, for example, quote, law enforcement officers of the Department of Justice may use deadly force when necessary. Now, you're going to get a lot of apologists for the FBI, for the Justice Department, for Merrick Garland, for Joe Biden. You're going to get a lot of Democrats, a lot of never Trumpers, a lot of people in late night comedy shows and what have you, who will say, oh, come on, this is ridiculous. This is standard procedure. Standard procedure. This is boilerplate. Anytime the FBI, anytime law enforcement goes into a private residence to issue a warrant, they have to be prepared to use deadly force. Don't we want the FBI to be able to protect themselves if their lives are threatened? That's standard operating procedures. SOP it is. Well, I'll add 2 more letters, BS. They may be used to just doing a copy paste with their mouse on the Microsoft Word document that has their search warrants and just use the boilerplate and fill in the blanks. But I'm sorry, if the Attorney General of the United States, Merrick Garland, personally signed off on this warrant, that by definition proves that this was not a standard case. Nothing about this was a standard case. You know, there's some times where you throw standard operating procedure out the window because of other mitigating circumstances, and this would be that time. And they acknowledge voluntarily that this was not a typical warrant because, as I mentioned, the Attorney General himself signed off on it. How many times does the Attorney General sign off on an FBI raid? I don't think that's a typical day in the Attorney General's workflow. So clearly they knew this was going to be different. So at that point, don't you maybe say, okay, now I know standard operating procedure is we use deadly force and we bring all our guns and we bring all our ammo. You know, the standard days when we're raiding the house of some 70-year-old grandmother who we're arresting because she was praying a rosary outside an abortion factory. You know, those FBI raids. The normal ones we do. You know, our standard operating procedure when we bring all our firearms and our ammo in and we're prepared to use deadly force when we're going after somebody who we've tracked into a traditional Latin mass, or maybe a parent as he's leaving a school board meeting. You know, when we do those raids, that's when we use the ammo. But this one got signed off on and checked by the Attorney General. He said so himself. You just saw him say it on video. So maybe at some point somebody steps up and says, hey guys, this is the President of the United States. Maybe we shouldn't have all this standard operating procedure stuff because this is unique. Don't give me the SOP. That's a whole lot of BS. In fact, even the Washington Post acknowledges it. Molly Hemingway pointed this out from this morning's write-up on the revelation. Prosecutors argued that new evidence suggested Trump was knowingly concealing secret documents at his Palm Beach, Florida home, urged the FBI to conduct a surprise raid at the property. But 2 senior FBI officials who would be in charge of leading the search resisted the plan as too combative and proposed instead to seek Trump's permission to search his property, according to 4 people who spoke on the condition of anonymity to describe a sensitive investigation. So 2 senior FBI officials said, guys, what are we doing here? What the hell? This isn't some traditional Catholic who's praying the rosary trying to save babies before they're born. This is former President of the United States. And, oh, gosh, I know I work for the FBI and we're just supposed to hate him. But maybe we should back off and not have our tickly fingers on a trigger as we're walking in there because he's the former president. Also, forgive me if I'm wrong, but the last time I checked, former presidents have Secret Service details protecting him from harm. You know, if you try to take a shot at the former president, you are going to get shot. So what exactly was the FBI doing here? What was Attorney General Merrick Garland, Joe Biden's little lackey, thinking was going to happen? That we're going to have some sort of shootout at the Mar-a-Lago corral? That Donald Trump is going to stand in the office door with a shotgun in his bathroom saying, "Government feds, get off my property. I'm going to fill you full of buckshot if you try to issue that warrant here." That's right. That's how Trump talks now. He lives in Florida. He's a Florida man. So there's Trump with his shotgun trying to keep them feds off his property. And then the FBI's been told, hey, if you have to use deadly force, use deadly force. So they draw their weapons. And then, of course, the Secret Service is trained. So they draw their weapons. And now what do we got? A Mexican standoff. It's like a Tarantino movie. So you and I, we were able to sort of play out this scenario ourselves right here and recognize this is probably not a good idea. You got the feds going down early morning with guns blazing, pouring into Mar-a-Lago, and they're obviously thinking, well, what happens if there's resistance? Well, if there's resistance, use deadly force. And nobody was able to sort of pull this thread a little further like you and I just did and say, okay, well, if we use deadly force against a former president, the Secret Service is there, and then they're going to use deadly force against us. We just got a bunch of federal agents with holes in them at this point. Maybe there's a better way. Remember when they told you that the grown-ups are back in charge in the White House? That all those things under Trump weren't normal and we got to get back to normal? Is this normal? Is this the normal they were talking about? Of course, once the FBI got in there, that's when they spread out all the documents on the floor that had been neatly and securely locked inside an office with multiple layers of security. No, they ripped out the documents. They spread them out all over the floor. Then they took those top secret cover sheets that hadn't been on the documents, placed them over them, took a picture and sent it to the New York Times saying, look at all these classified documents this guy had. He's a spy. Now we've learned that they staged that entire photo, including the top secret cover sheets. They brought those with them. And then when they put the documents back in the boxes, they didn't file them properly. So now as Trump is trying to defend himself against the alleged classified documents, he can't even trace back the documents that they're referring to because they're not filed properly. The FBI did all of that. They tampered with the evidence. That's why the Mar-a-Lago case is now on hold indefinitely, because the judges said this is a mess. But they were prepared to use deadly force. This entire thing has been just top-notch federal government work from beginning to end, all under the control of Merrick Garland, who is the sock puppet of Joe Biden. Decency is back on the ballot, we were told. Remember how decent things were going to be? You're not sure this is a big deal? You're not sure that the DOJ is out to get Donald Trump? Well, let's get some expert testimony from this guy. James Comey, former FBI director, you know, the guy that Trump fired, the guy who had a secret investigation of the president and wouldn't divulge it to him because he pretended like he was a Russian spy. You know, the guy who leaked FBI documents through his own sock puppet to the New York Times. Yeah, that guy. What does he think about the election?
If Donald Trump is reelected. I mean, when you think about a second Trump administration, what do you think the implications would be for the FBI?
Oh, serious for the Justice Department and the FBI, because Trump is coming for those institutions. He knows their power, and I think he has regrets that he didn't work hard enough to corrupt them last time. So he's coming for them, and that's a danger for all Americans. He's going to put people in positions in those organizations. He didn't have all-stars the last time. He'll have the bottom of the barrel this time, but people who will want to do his will, and that should worry every American. This election matters because of a reason like that. People have to participate. You cannot sit on the sideline. I don't care how you feel about Joe Biden, you must vote for.
You must vote for him, he said. We clipped it off at the tail end of that, though. He's terrified. He is terrified because he knows, as he puts it, the bottom of the barrel. If anybody gets in there to actually do the job in the Justice Department in a fair and legal way with full transparency to expose everything that went on his watch, he should be in an orange jumpsuit. That's why he's terrified. That was the fear that you heard in his voice. And boy, the things that they did to try to stop Donald Trump in 2016 and the things that they did to stop him in 2020, just wait until you see what they're going to pull out in the next 6 months. He also said something really interesting there when he said that Donald Trump now knows the power of those organizations, the DOJ and the FBI, their power. He used to be the director of the FBI, and the first word that comes to mind when he talks about them is power. The power the FBI has, the power the Justice Department has. That should give you pause. It's about exerting power, not about doing what's right, not about following the law or enforcing the law. It's about exerting power. That's how James Comey thinks of those agencies. That's telling, I think. Yeah, that's quite a few revelations we've learned about the entity that he helped create and turn into what it's become. I miss the good old FBI. I really do. I miss Elliot Ness. I miss the FBI being, the good guys. I would love to have that back. But what it's going to take is for some huge reforms. And if that means getting Trump's bottom of the barrel in there, bring on the bottom of the barrel. Because we see how the elites are working. If what we've got with Christopher Wray and James Comey and Merrick Garland are the best of the best, the elite squad, and they send the FBI with guns toting and trigger fingers, heading down to Mar-a-Lago, authorized to use deadly force if necessary by a guy who's got Secret Service protection, yeah, they're the Keystone Cops right now. The difference is they're the Keystone Cops with power. And as you know, as we've always said, if they can do this to Donald Trump, they can do it to anyone, and they do it to anyone. And for everybody who says that, deadly force, that warrant language, that standard operating procedure, we do that with everyone. That's the problem. That right there. That's the problem.